I'm joined by Kyle Petty and Parker Kligerman, and 4 races remain in the regular season in the Cup Series. So I'll ask both of you guys, starting with you, Parker, what driver, team, or organization is feeling the most pressure right now?
So I've got 2 on my mind. One's a driver and one's an organization. First and foremost, it's got to be Daniel Suarez. He's got to be feeling the pressure to be making the playoffs. His teammate is in there, obviously, Ross Chastain in their win. But for Daniel, it just seems like they can't seem to get over the hump. They've been close at times to being in there on points, and then something happens like happened at Pocono. I just feel like for that race team, they are definitely feeling the pressure. The expectation for Daniel Suarez, that 99 team, is to be in the playoffs. So they've got to be feeling it. And then my second has to be Hendrick Motorsports as a whole. With the 9 and the 48 not in, I believe that organization has to be looking at those 2 cars and thinking, all right, we've got to get at least one of these into the playoffs. And right now they've got neither, and it looks pretty bleak on being able to do it on points. It could be done, but they might just have to go out there and find a way for the 9 or the 48 to win a race, which is an incredibly tough place to be, when you're trying to get into the playoffs in the NASCAR Cup Series. So those 2 entities, to me, really stick out as feeling the pressure, because when you look at Michael McDowell and Ty Gibbs and AJ Allmendinger, they are all overachieving or just sort of where they should be, right? And I don't think any of them are really feeling the pressure. If they're able to if Michael McDowell gets into the playoffs, what an incredible story, and for him to be overachieving by almost an order of magnitude, right? In some respects. But for those others that I mentioned, they have to be feeling the pressure because they're expected to be in the playoffs, right? They're not right now. They're not.
Yeah, listen, I agree about Michael McDowell. How could he be feeling the pressure when he's living the dream? You don't feel the pressure right now because he is. And you're exactly right. That team is outperforming Gibbs, Hendrick, at so many different teams. When you really look, Trackhouse, when you look at it, look at the teams that behind, look at the organizations that are behind Front Row Motorsports. I think Keselowski, Kevin, those guys are obviously pretty safe. But we've seen in the Xfinity series over the last couple of weeks, you can lose 30 or 40 points a race, it seems sometimes, if you go by John Hunter Nemechek. So Bubba's got to be thinking about it. But I don't think there's any pressure for Ty Gibbs or for Michael McDowell. I agree. The pressure is on the organization of Hendrick to put 2 teams. When you look at the people that are in front of them, I don't think the pressure the drivers put on themselves is just to go win. Because if you go and win, it solves everything. We heard Chris Buescher say after he won, winning cures everything, and winning will cure everything for these organizations. The pressure that Hendrick has with Ally, with Napa, with these sponsors that he has, that has to be weighing on these drivers' minds and this organization and the leadership at that organization at some point in time. But a win and a couple of different road courses and a wild card like Daytona, listen, it's anybody's game right now. So they can win their way in, but there's 35 other guys that are out there with them that could also win. We saw, as was mentioned earlier, Austin Dillon from 16th to the win with a rain shower. That's all it takes, man. A few raindrops and you're a champion.
So with all that pressure that's out there, will anybody outside of a playoff spot right now be in a playoff spot after the regular season finale at Daytona later this month? Kyle?
You know what? That's a good question. I really, and I'm going to say this, I'll go on record. AJ and that Colleague Racing, I thought they were going to be there. And then they decided to put the Xfinity series over the Cup series. So I'm not sure what that says about where they're at as a team and where they're at and what they're trying to do. But they can win at Watkins Glen and they can win at Indy. So there's a team that maybe is looking at that and saying, we got 2 shots. We got a 50-50 shot of winning and being in this thing with AJ Allmendinger. And I believe they do have a 50-50 shot with this guy driving a race car. But, Daytona is your wild card. This is the last sane race. Michigan will be the last sane race to see how the playoffs start and who's in it and who's going to be competitive and run up front and who's not.
I think you just jinxed it for us. So there will be no sane races. But the one I look at is that Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion, will get one of those 2 cars into the playoffs. Who they knock out, I'm not exactly sure. My heart hopes that Michael McDowell can pull this off and get into the playoffs, but obviously he'd be the easy target for them to knock out. But I do believe Hendrick Motorsports will get one of those cars, but not both, into the playoffs this year. And I think if I looked at it and just thought, okay, who's going to pull that off? It most likely, in my opinion, would be Chase Elliott in that 9 car and maybe at a road course winning or even winning at Daytona, that sort of thing, to get themselves in the playoffs. But I think they have a tall task if they were to get both cars in. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Listen, Trackhouse is bringing some ringers. It's Trackhouse for the block. As far as Chase Elliott goes, they're bringing it, man. They're bringing it. I don't see him. I don't see movement. I just don't. I have not seen a glimpse of the 9 car and Chase Elliott being in position to score massive stage points or win races. And that is a problem for this team. That is a problem for this organization, because we have seen the 5 car be there. We have seen the 24 car, obviously, of William Byron be there. The 48, obviously, we're talking about the 2 Hendrick drivers who have suffered injuries this year and have had to come back. Are they 100%? Only they know. Only they know, man. Only they know how far they're willing to push. Only they know what they're willing to do in the car. And only they know what kind of pain they're driving in or where they're at. So it's a little bit different for these 2 teams than the other ones. Suarez, I don't know if the pressure of trying to make the chase or trying to keep his ride, and I don't know where it is right now as far as that goes. But there's a lot going on in that kid's head, and it's showing up on the racetrack in a negative way. So, I don't see that one. So it's going to be tough. I just think it stays status quo as we run out these last 4 races.
Thanks for joining us for Motormouths, presented by Toyota.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.